this public hearing to order. This juncture, like to acknowledge, of course, our guests, our resource persons, and the Secretary of National Defense here with us. And later on, we will be joined by Senator Lauren Legarda. May I now request our committee secretary, Director Sue Candao, to acknowledge our resource persons and experts for today. Director Candao, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Your Honors. The resource persons for today are as follows. From the Department of Foreign Affairs, this is for the ASEAN Extradition Treaty. We have from the DFA, Deputy Assistant Secretary Anthony Aquiles Mandap. From the Office of Treaties and Legal Affairs, Deputy Assistant Secretary Princess Thomas, Office of Asian and Pacific Affairs. We have Acting Deputy Assistant Secretary Rona Beth Gose from the Office of Asian and Pacific Affairs. We have Director Brian Jess Baguio from the Office of American Affairs, Director Josel Mostajo from the ASEAN Affairs Office, Director Sheila May Briones from the Office of Treaties and Legal Affairs, Assistant Director Cristabel Ann Arcelia from the Office of American Affairs, and also Foreign Service Officer Maria Racel Figoro Gases. From the Department of Justice, we have Undersecretary Nicolas Felix T, together with Chief State Counsel Dennis Arvin Chan. We have Senior State Counsel Mary Grace Quintana, State Counsel Redmond John Zulweta, and State Counsel Ulysses Aguila. From the National Bureau we have Police Brigadier General Aladin Collado with Police Lieutenant Police Major Almer Eustaquio and Police Lieutenant Colonel Ivan Abesa. We also have the Undersecretary of the Philippine Center on Transnational Crime, Executive Director Romeo Prestoza. For the status of visiting forces for both Philippine Canada and Philippine New Zealand, we have the Honorable Secretary Gilberto Chodoro from the Department of National Defense, together with Undersecretary Madriaga, the Strategic Assessment and Planning. And then we also have Undersecretary Antonio Habulan, the Executive Director of the Presidential Commission on Visiting Forces. From the Armed Forces of the Philippines, we have General Romeo S. Browner Jr., the Chief of Staff. From the Department of Finance, we have Assistant Secretary Dakila Napao, also from the Bureau of the Internal Revenue, Attorney Edgar Alan Reyes. From the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, we have Attorney Gino Pahe from the Legal Affairs Office. And also, we have Attorney Andrea Cabagbag, the Legal Affairs Office of the DENR. From the Department of Labor and Employment, we have Undersecretary Felipe Egargo Jr.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone.
With Assistant Secretary Julianne Chang Lim. From the Department of Health and the Bureau of Quarantine, we have here today Dr. Michael Galope from the Bureau of Quarantine. From the Department of Transportation, we have Assistant Secretary Manuel Cabochan. From the Bureau of Customs, we have Attorney John Cedric Common from the Legal Service and the Revenue Collection Monitoring Group. And we also have Assistant Commissioner Attorney Vincent Maronilla. That's all for now, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Committee Secretary. Today, we're taking up three major international agreements that will shape our national security and regional justice system. The status of visiting forces agreement between the Philippines and Canada, the status of visiting forces agreement between the Philippines and New Zealand, and the ASEAN Treaty on Extradition. The Philippines is shifting its defense strategy by opening our doors to middle powers like Canada and New Zealand. We are building a broader coalition to secure the Indo-Pacific and improve our disaster response. But let me be clear. Hosting foreign troops is never just a routine administrative matter. It is a profound issue of sovereignty. Today, this committee will scrutinize the fine print. We will ask the hard questions, specifically on the criminal justice or criminal jurisdiction, custody, environmental liability, and on true reciprocity. Next, we tackle the ASEAN Treaty on Extradition, modern crime for cybercrime or cyber fraud to human trafficking has no borders. This treaty is designed to close the net on fugitives in our regional backyard, but we will demand assurances. We must ensure this treaty is used to catch actual criminals and never weaponized for political persecution across Southeast Asia. To our resource persons, the Senate recognizes the hard work your departments have put into negotiating these treaties. However, our constitutional mandate requires us to test the strength, fairness, and absolute necessity of these agreements. We expect straightforward answers today. We now proceed with the hearing proper, with the indulgence of our resource persons. We will proceed as follows. First, we shall allow resource persons to deliver their statement and presentations. Please limit your presentations to at most 3 minutes. Refrain from reading the whole text of your position paper. Otherwise, you can just submit it to this committee, your position paper. Then our senators, once they're here, will be given the opportunity to ask questions and seek clarification. And those senators who will be joining us and have not given their opening statement may do so before asking their questions. Let us now proceed with the decision of the agreement or discussion of the agreement between the Philippines and Canada on the status of visiting forces agreement between the Philippines and New Zealand and the status of visiting forces agreement. Director Sue, there are other agencies that will present today.
Yes, Your Honor, we will have the Department of Foreign Affairs to present first, followed by the Department of National Defense.
Thank you. Go ahead, DFA Attorney Mando.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chair and the members of the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations. Colleagues, my name is Anthony Mandap. I am the Deputy Assistant Secretary of the DFA Office of Treaties and Legal Affairs. Thank you for inviting the Department of Foreign Affairs to appear before this esteemed committee to assist in the review of the ASEAN Treaty on Extradition, the Philippines, New Zealand's SOBFA, and the Philippines-Canada SOBFA. Now, the three treaties subject of Senate concurrence today. The first is the ASEAN Treaty on Extradition, which was signed on the 14th of November 2025 in Manila, the Philippines. On the 13th of April 2026, the instrument of ratification signed by the President was transmitted to the Senate of the 20th Congress for its concurrence. The treaty seeks to strengthen the region's capability to fight or prevent crime or intensify law enforcement through a mechanism to extradite criminal suspects or convicted criminals hiding behind international borders or escaping to foreign jurisdictions to evade penalty or prosecution. The treaty also seeks to enable each ASEAN member state to effect the extradition of individuals for the purpose of prosecution, sentencing, or enforcement of sentence imposed from other AMS or ASEAN member states where those individuals may be located. And the third is to strengthen the region's commitment against criminality and in furthering regional integration through seamless legal cooperation in criminal matters. Now, for a more detailed discussion on the highlights and benefits of this treaty, we shall defer to the Department of Justice, which is the implementing agency and central authority of the Philippines for extradition. Now, the second treaty is the Philippines-New Zealand SOBFA, or agreement between the government of the Republic of the Philippines and the Government of New Zealand on the status of visiting forces, which was signed on April 30, 2025 in Manila. The President ratified the SOBFA with New Zealand on April 13, 2026, and proceeded to endorse it to the Senate of the 20th Congress on the same date. The SOBFA sets the terms for agreed upon cooperative activities between the AFP, the Armed Forces of the Philippines, and the New Zealand Defense Force and their civilian components in each other's territories. It aims to improve the country's rapid response capability for disaster preparedness and will enhance military capabilities through joint training, infrastructure development, and equipment sharing, as well as to strengthen joint capabilities to combat threats to global and regional supply chains. The third, the Philippines-Canada SOBFA, which is the last treaty for consideration today. It is also called the Agreement between the Government of the Republic of the Philippines and the Government of Canada concerning the status of visiting forces of each state in the territory of the other state, which was signed on November the 2nd, 2025 in Manila. The President ratified the SOBFA on March 26, 2026, and then endorsed the same to the Senate of the 20th Congress. The SOBFA with Canada lays down the legal framework governing the status of the sending states visiting forces in its civilian component while in the territory of the receiving state for the conduct of joint defense and humanitarian activities. It also sets the parameters for the use of defined land and sea areas, airspace, or facilities of the receiving state for mutually agreed upon cooperative activities. And lastly, the SOBFA underscores the protection of the environment, cultural and indigenous peoples' heritage, as well as human health and safety in the conduct of cooperative activities. For the details of the two SOBFAs subject of today's discussion, the DFA shall defer to the representatives of the various concerned agencies, such as the Department of National Defense, the PCVF, the PCVF, and the DOJ. With that, Mr. Chair, we submit everything for the committee's consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Mandap. My first question will be, how many visiting forces agreement do we have now? And which countries do we have agreement?
This will be the fourth and fifth SOBFAs, Mr. Chair.
Po ano po ba?
Of course, we already have one with the US, Australia, and Japan.
US, Australia, and Japan.
Opo.
All right. Okay. Now, my next question is, what are the provisions under the SOBFA of Canada and New Zealand na wala po sa SOBFA ng United States or Australia? Would you happen to know?
On this question, Your Honor, we yield to the
Defense Department?
Defense.
Yeah, okay. Let me redirect my question to Secretary Chidoro then. Would you happen to know, Secretary, what are the provisions of SOBFA of Canada and New Zealand that are not in the SOBFA of Australia and the United States?
Your Honor,
Is
there's
there any?
substantially no difference except for differences in the criminal processes of the distinct countries, because we have templates on both the common law system and the statutory system. It was a lot easier to move forward. The major difference, Your Honor, is the request of the Government of Canada that protection to indigenous people's rights, which they take very seriously, and the environment. Would be custody, Your Honor. Specific here is after the filing of charges, the custody will be on the receiving state. However, Your Honor, these provisions are best as fallback mechanisms, and we deal very, very carefully with prevention of offenses.
President, Mr. Chair, if there is already a matrix among
Yes,
the
Your
three,
Honor. Yes, Your
has
Honor.
it been presented, the matrix?
No, Your Honor, we did not
in
present the
The
matrix.
VFA, and in chronology, the Australian SOFA, and then the Japan VFA, which is fairly new, and then this new proposed status
The,
of forces agreement.
The
In short, ano lang ang kaibahan? Yeah.
in short, Your Honor, the Canada and New Zealand SOFAs, because of their home legal systems, follow the Australian paradigm very closely. And New Zealand, Your Honor, always deploys, as of this time, together with Australia, until it builds its expeditionary maritime capability. So it is always a joint force with Australia.
Marunong si Sec Kibo. Sinabi niya, kasi narinig niya ako nag-sponsor ng Australian SOFA eh. Tapos pag sinabi nyo, pareho naman yung New Zealand, o di syempre, papayag na po tayo, ako nag-sponsor nun eh. Yes.
Yung Canada
Yes.
po,
Yung
pareho
Canada.
din. Kasi
pareho.
hindi ba, crown
Yes.
Commonwealth country siya. Pero ang importante po sa Canada, ulitin ko po, dahil nakikita po natin, malawak ang lugar kung saan tayo pwede mag-cooperate, lalo na sa energy resources. Pero sa ngayon pa lang po, no, walang visiting forces agreement, napakalaki ng contribution nila sa atin sa cyber protection. Pero maliban po doon, they have a surplus of mineral resources that perhaps our country badly needs. And they can help us also develop our mineral resources in a responsible manner.
Sama ba yan sa visiting forces agreement?
Hindi po
Wala.
kasama, pero ito po ang purpose. Actually, one of the purposes, kaya maintindihan po natin yung
Because
context.
exploration of mines is
Hindi
not
po.
all indicated.
Hindi po indicated, but you need to secure your supply chains to make this a viable activity. And you need freedom of navigation and the high seas. Without such, Your Honor, your costs of doing business, so to speak, will be exponentially higher because you take a risk.
Thank you for mentioning that, although that's not indicated at all, but it's a possibility, yes, and it's needed. What you're saying, that this is needed so that there's freedom of navigation, so that when this happens, exploration, etc., we set the pace for that. Is there, going to another front, the academic exchange, is it contemplated in the visiting forces agreement?
It's already happening, Your
Yes.
Honor, the
New
academic
Zealand and
exchange.
Canada?
Yes.
Because I
On
know
officer
Australia,
training.
marami sa atin nag-aaral sa Australia.
New
sa mga
Zealand
mili-
po, marami po.
Marami
And
din.
Canada, meron na rin po.
Okay, when I say exchange, it's actually more of us sending our men and women there.
It is also valuable, Your Honor, because we have a lot of catching up to do in our military and defense educational system capabilities.
Yan, I'm sure hindi yan naka-itemize.
Hindi po
Pero
naka-itemize.
understood.
Pero personal advocacy po ng Department of National Defense and part of the international engagements. Dahil sa ngayon, ang higher education ng military at defense ay skills training pa rin, hindi research and multidisciplinary activities. Na kailangan natin i-endow yung mga scholars natin upang sa ganon magkaroon ng multidisciplinary approach to national defense and national security.
Even if it is not indicated in black and white in the fine print, are we assured that our officers, men and women, will have access and will be encouraged for scholarships in both New Zealand and Canada?
Yes, Your Honor. We
for
are
training?
assured just as long as they
Yes.
meet the minima.
Of course,
For-
requirements.
Because if they meet the minimum requirements, it is also a value added of any educational institution to have a member, regardless of nationality, to have peer-reviewed articles and research, which adds a rating to its academic rating.
So experts, lecturers coming to CGSE, to NDCP,
Actually,
and
Your-
training there as well. I mean, pasensya na, Chair, ang dami kong tanong kasi this is so interesting. So, hindi lang yung scholars natin pupunta ron, lecturers at experts sila pupunta rito, at maari din bang mag-training doon o dito lang sa ating shores at sa land ang
hindi ho,
training?
reciprocal po ito.
Reciprocal ito.
Opo.
Okay.
Pangalawa po, ang importante rin humakita natin, napakadami nating magagandang ideya dito. Hindi po natin, wala po tayong adequate laboratory for development and further testing of these, tawagin na natin, inventions. And secondly, pag ipinascale nyo na ang industrial production, dun ho nahihirapan ang inventions or technology natin na i-scale sa durability, quality, and production. Doon po kami pwede magtulungan kasi napaka-secure po ng space. And even po on, actually, we're already have initiatives going on for medical, military medical health, wellness, and also in combat. Kasi ho, ang experience actually sa Ukraine, nakakalungkot, hospitals are not safe havens. So we have to redevise also where and how we treat battlefield injuries, Your Honor.
But before I end, when I will ask on the second round after I listen to the chair, kung halos pareho, sinasabi po nyo, yung Australian VFA with Canada and New Zealand, ano yung isang pagkakaiba kung meron man?
You may stress po sa environmental protection at saka indigenous people's rights ho sa Canada dahil napakalaki po ng importansya sa kanila
Yes.
ng First Nations po nila.
So may stress, it is stressed in these two VFAs.
Yes, Your Honor.
Something
I
that
think
was
there is
silent.
mention also on Japan and Australia, pero hindi po ganito ka-specific.
So that's favorable to us because
Yes,
we
Your
have our indigenous peoples
Yes,
as
Your
well.
Honor. And it
Yes.
is also a mandate of their own law
Yes.
that if they engage, they are mandated to do so under an ambit of environmental protection.
And just to be clear in the process, and the DOJ is here, who was the negotiating institution? Was it DOJ?
Kami po,
With the support of the DOJ.
yeah, with the
right?
support ho, because we needed to embark on really speedy convergence mechanisms.
No government institution is against this?
Wala po.
There's
so far.
full support.
Yes, Your
Okay.
Honor. Because
And if we have it with Australia and it's copy paste or very similar with Australia, and if it merely strengthened the rights and protection of our indigenous people, so that's even better.
Yes, Your Honor. And also an assurance is, for example, with New Zealand, there are 100,000 Filipinos in New Zealand who are part of the New Zealand community who are advocating also for closer productive relations between our two countries. And as distant as it is, it has seen the need to converge because an important part of their supply line is this South China Sea and the West Philippine Sea. Na-ratify po siya noong March lang po.
Just this year. So both are just newly ratified. When
March
was it
26.
transmitted before ratification?
April.
April po. Very new po. At malaki po ang tulong si Chairman Tulfo sa pag-transmit po. Madam Chair, dahil gawa na rin siguro ng ibang attention at focus. Of course, primary attention namin, naintindihan naman. Bago na transmit, pero dun po sa susunod ng mga BFA, ihihilingin na po namin na bago namin pirmahan to, kailangan na ipayag na lahat kesa sa pipirmahan. Bago nyo pirmahan, pumayag na, tapos kukuha na naman ang concurrence, repetitive yung, hindi, within the executive.
Any
Yeah, but
uh,
to ratify,
agreement? Yes.
for me to get an authority to sign, Your Honor.
Yes.
Your Honor.
You
I
have to
should-
get
Yes.
all the
And then what I
agencies.
cannot understand in the previous BFAs, after signing, before the
You
ratification
have to
by the
ask the
President,
comments.
again,
Wait.
it's
Your-
as if, Your Honor, we don't know what we're doing.
The inputs of agencies must be given when you're negotiating. When you ratify it, because
Tapos na yun.
an
Your Honor.
agreement can
Pinayagan na ako.
only be approved or junked. You cannot revise it anymore because when you send it to us, we either concur in its ratification or reject it altogether. We cannot negotiate anymore.
Yes, Your
So
Honor.
all these agencies who want to put their fingers in your pie after you've ratified it should have been part of the negotiations
Yes, Your
and given the inputs to the negotiating entity.
Yes,
Hindi
Your
pwedeng pagka-ratify, pag nasa OP na, or worse, if it's here, then somebody says, no, we disagree. Why were you not there present? Why now? Oo, hindi pwede.
At saka may
Yeah.
template na nga po eh.
Yeah,
Na marami. So, the
naging
less...
tagapagtanggol pa ako ninyo. Sige na. So,
Thirdly,
Oo.
Your Honor, I think the defense space is moving very, very rapidly. Very rapidly, faster than... and so, speed is necessary in this.
speed, kaya yan ng mga Tulfo. Pwede pa niya yan i-sponsor na mamaya pag i-route na yung committee report, pag approve, pag-uusapan pa ba yan ginawa na to sa
Actually,
Australia,
Your
di ba?
Honor, with
Oh.
the legislature, starting from the first one I will had the honor to participate in during my tenure with Japan, it was very, very speedy. It was very speedy, Your Honor.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Senator Lauren. With the indulgence of my colleague here, let's hear now from the Presidential Commission on Visiting Forces Agreement or Visiting Forces for your statement.
Nothing.
There's not much to say anymore because the secretary has already said most of the things, or actually all of the things that we have undertaken before, because I am also part of the negotiating team. And I definitely concur with the SOPA with Canada and New Zealand, sir.
Thank you, Yusek Habulan. Let me now go to the Department of Environment. Let's hear your presentation because I have a few quick questions here, such as have you already coordinated with the Department of Defense or the Presidential Commission Visiting Forces Agreement pertaining to our environmental laws? Kasi meron pong isa tayong katrite na medyo nakalimutan siguro, dumped about 189,500 liters of domestic waste and 760 liters of bilge water dumped in the Subic Bay. So I want to hear from you if ang ating DND, ang ating pong AFP, Department of Environment coordinated already with these two countries regarding our environmental laws. Go ahead, Department of Environment.
Hindi ko rin alam.
presentation, DNR? Is there a representative from DNR here? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Our resource speaker will be here in a while. He just went to the restroom for a little bit, Mr. Chair. If we can have a second call on this matter. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's hear first from the Department of Finance. If you have any presentation.
Morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Honorable Senator Rigarda. The Department of Finance, Your Honor, does not have a presentation, but we issued a certificate of concurrences to both the Canada and New Zealand so far. Your Honor.
Committee Secretary. Okay, Department of Finance, I have just one quick question. Ano po mga budget implications po nito sa pagpasok natin sa Visiting Forces Agreement with two or more countries once we concur the SOFAs with Canada and New Zealand? How much do we have to spend? Nabanggit po kanina ni Defense Secretary yung tungkol po sa mga damages. What are we looking at?
Your Honor, when we review the proposed agreement, we're looking at possible foregone revenues from duties and taxes on the imported military hardware and supplies. But although we are looking at possible foregone revenues, Your Honor, we are also looking at a possible we're looking also at a possible inflow of activities, economic activities due to the for instance, a balikatan activity in our area. So we're looking at this as a reciprocal investment rather than a mere loss or foregone revenue, Mr. Chair.
May
Go ahead.
add to the DOF. Actually, the greatest hindrance also of the country to having FDI is your security resilience. It adds a few basis points to the risk assessment of the country. So the more we are able to prove that we can enforce our law, the more an overall macro benefit will redound to the economy as a whole. And as we said, Your Honor, that the Visiting Forces Agreement, although without saying it directly, is also a reflection on the interest of countries to converge in other spheres. Definitely, it is an anchor, actually, for sustainable investments in one's economy on the macro level. On the micro level, of course, Your Honor, there is disposable income that circulates in the communities, particularly the recipient communities. And with our resilience efforts with the communities where other agencies like the BFAR also converge with us, then we can, although to a limited scale, tailor more resilient and more productive communities who were formerly marginalized. So there is a positive net inflow to the financials of the country, while the net expenditure, Your Honor, is also always carried already by our MOOE budget, which is approved by Congress. So basically, it is a net zero unless we send troops abroad for training, which sometimes is courtesy of the host community, and for schooling, of which we should invest our own.
All right, thank you, Secretary. Quickly, before we go back to the DNR, just to the Bureau of Customs, we have representative from Bureau of Customs here.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
All right, Gaya po ng paalala ko po sa inyo na nakaraang hearing, sana po ay mas paigtingin pa po ng Bureau of Customs ang pag-monitor ng mga pumapasok po na kargamento sa ating bansa para po maiwasan gawing dumping site ng Pilipinas ng other countries. Hindi po sapat na marinig na nasira po ang X-ray machines natin. Kung kailangan po ninyong palitan na yung mga yan, gagawin po natin. Malapit na po ang budget hearing. Please include that in your requests. Ano po, Bureau of Customs. Now, dito po sa visiting forces agreement are granted, visiting forces are granted significant tax and duty exemptions for fuel, oil, and explosives. Paano niyo po masisiguro, BOC, na ito po ay hindi po masyado makaka-apekto sa inyong revenue?
Your Honor, yung
Or will it greatly affect the revenue of the BOC?
Your Honor, hindi naman ho, no. Yung pagdating naman ho ng provisions under this particular agreement is related to it. Ibig sabihin ho, kung wala naman tong agreement na to, wala din naman hong papasok na, wala naman kami ine-expect na papasok na ganung revenue talaga. So, wala naman ho sa projections din namin pagdating sa revenue impact ang mga provisions na ipapasok dito. In fact, Your Honor, the country stands to benefit also from this agreement because some of the equipments, there are instances that some of the equipments, modern equipments that are used in this particular exercises are left already, no, to our armed forces for their use. More or less, some of the equipments naman, if we really purchase it po, under the AFP modernization law, may mga ilang equipments po talaga na exempt na dun. So, na-factor in na rin po namin talaga yung revenue loss dito. And hindi naman po ganun ka-significant, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Your Honor,
Camarunilla, go ahead,
may I
Secretary
just state
Teodoro.
something for the record? Nangyari na po last year and the year before. Actually, may net gain po tayo dahil nagkataon po na ang balikatan and other exercises ay tumugma kung kailan tayo may disaster. Kaya nakatulong pa ang visiting forces na hindi po mura. Napakamahal na mag-operate ng Osprey, ng C-130, and to deploy them with the doctrines that the foreign countries have, hindi po mura. Kaya ang laki po ng net savings ng gobyerno sa tulong kahit na let's say natin 2 o 3 araw, hundreds of millions of dollars na po yon sa tulong, lalo-lalo na nung may nangyari pong baha sa Naga and doon po sa iba't ibang communities and actually minomonitor din po namin ang situation dito po sa low pressure area o bagyo na darating at pumayag po ang US troops na mag-iwan po ng standby para makatulong sa atin dahil knowing fully well po na may ASEAN Summit na kailangan din natin mag-provide ng air transport at sea transport ang Philippine Navy, pinangunahan na po ni General Bronner si Admiral Paparo at pumayag naman po na just in case kakailanganin na tutulong po sila agad-agaran.
Thank you, Secretary Teodoro. May we hear now from the Department of Environment your presentation, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Your Honors. The Department of Environment does not have a specific, did not prepare slides, but we express our general support to the provisions of the of both drafts of the SVFA. We in fact already submitted our certificates of concurrence to the Office of the President through the DND as required. However, since we have the opportunity also subject of course to the advice of the DND and the DFA, we ask that particular terms be considered to replace the following terms that have been considered in the environmental provision aspects only if the
Your Honor,
Mr. Chair, may
Go
I?
ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, our representative from the DNR, hindi ko makita po. May I see your name and your position and what department you belong to? Can you kindly state, are you from the legal division?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Chair. May I have the floor?
Go ahead, please.
I heard him recommending that certain provisions be revised. DNR, were you present here 30 minutes ago
Yes, ma'am.
when we were discussing?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you hear our statement, my statement, the chair's, that on the process of negotiating for an agreement and the process of ratification and its concurrence?
Yes, Your Honor.
If so, why is DNR, unless I heard wrongly, suggesting that words or provisions be revised or changed? It's either we accept it, meaning we concur, it's already in the Senate, it's a last stretch. You're recommending if a certain period or comma needs to be changed and you are in disagreement or proposing a revision, that means you did not suggest it when you were backstopping the DND, which is the primary agency in negotiation. Yan ang problema minsan ng gobyerno, ng executive. Huli na po kayo. So, I will give you the chance to say what you want to change. Maybe it will influence me and the chair to vote against it or not to hear it or not to concur in it. But nagpantig lang ang tenga ko nung narinig ko the DNR is suggesting to change this provision. The ship has sailed and the train has left the station. Why is the DNR only waking up now? You should have suggested that during the process of negotiations, unless, sir, you were not the one assigned and you had suggested that and they did not heed you. If so, then keep quiet. Because Secretary Chodoro said, yun nga yung frustration niya. Ano ba sila? Hindi naman yung mga tanga. Nagne-negotiate ang ating DND. Nandyan ang whole of government approach ito, negotiation. Tapos sa huli, sasabihin, hindi, mali. Dapat itong period ginawang comma. Ito dapat apostrophe. Ngayon lang. So it's either you agree or you disagree. And if you disagree, we want to be enlightened why. But if you are changing provisions, you are out of place in this room because it's already transmitted, it's concurred in. Now, if I heard wrongly because I was reading a document, then I will change my statement. I just felt that I just heard that.
Yeah,
So-
I agree with you, Senator Lauren. I mean, Department of Environment. I mean, this is not the right place. Ika nga, you're seeking amendments. I think sana bago pa yan umakyat sa Office of the President, sa Executive, pinag-usapan na po ninyo yan ng Department of Environment, ng DND. Pero what is that you're talking about? What are these? Is that a provision? You disagree or you want change? What is it?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Your Honor. Actually, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources sent its legal opinion and along with the concurrence to the DND. However, our first request was that the term maritime zones be added to all instances of territorial limits or territorial jurisdiction, so that the provision of RA of the Philippine Maritime Zones Act on environmental protection for waters will also be applicable to the SVFA. So we generally, the DNR has already submitted its concurrence. However, the current text as it appears, it seems that our initial comments were not considered. But
Pause there. You're saying too much, which is good. So the term maritime zones, minungkahi nyo nung proseso ng negotiation, hindi pagka-ratify nila. Kasi tama si Sekibo. Pagka-ratify, concur, humihingi sa lahat ng ahensya, doon magsasalita lang ahensya, mali ito. Na-ratify na nga eh. So dapat nung nagne-negotiate pa, naka-embed ba kayo sa negotiations? Sinabi ba nyo sa DND kailangan gamitin yung maritime zones? At sinasabi nyo ngayon, hindi kayo sinundan ng DND, kaya nga nyo minumungkay sa Senado. So, is that a deal breaker, so to speak, using
Your
the
Honor,
term? Kung
uh,
wala yung maritime zone,
yeah.
okay, ito. Nandyan ba ang maritime zone sa USVFA? Nandyan ba ang maritime zone sa Australian SOFA? Nandyan ba ang maritime zone sa Japan Reciprocal Access Agreement? And perhaps, but thank you for bringing it up, DOJ should also answer that. And without the term maritime zone, assuming DNR suggested that to the premier agency that negotiated for this, what does it mean and what are the possible interpretation or repercussions without the maritime zone words? Yes, attorney, at minungkahi po niya yan. Ano ka ni Sec Pare?
Your Honor,
Yes, thank you.
just to provide context and clarity, because I talked about this personally with my counterpart then and my professor, Professor Rafael Lotilla. He concurred in it with the advice that we take into consideration in the application of this law, this treaty rather. And he suggested that we further examine the applicability of Republic Act 12064. Nowhere is it suggested that we introduce such term to the treaty. Anyway, Your Honor, the treaty has a general provision that it shall be in conformity with Philippine law. And since Republic Act 12064, the Maritime Zone Acts is part of the statute books, and it was enacted to indeed
Environment very clear of Sec Lutilla. He says importance
Recording
of the
stopped.
applicability of this law.
Recording in
Why did you stop
progress.
recording while I'm talking? Who is that? Okay. Sino yun? Automatic. Sige. Okay. Kala ko pinapahinto ako eh. Sige. Sino ba siya? Kala ko ayaw ko pagsalitain eh. Okay. AI na boses. Sige. So sinasabi niya, maliwanag, it underscores the importance of the Maritime Zones Act. At saka bumoto tayo dyan. And this law is therefore applicable. But of course, any agreement, it is understood so that we also put it here. And when you sponsor it on the floor, any agreement must not contradict any law of the land, the Constitution, and any existing law of the land.
Yes, Your
Thank
Honor,
you.
because we cannot, by virtue of executive action, actually amend any law. Although, you know, we cannot amend the law, Your Honor. It must be pursuant to the legislative authority you grant us. There are cases which hold that treaties supersede a law, but since you have to ratify, you have to concur in the treaty, it is deemed also amended. But in this case, there is no such thing because we have to act in accordance with law, Your Honor.
Eh bakit gusto ni DNR palitan yung provision?
Your Honor, maybe there was a miscommunication on their side as to what to advocate.
through DNR, gusto ko magsalita kayo at kung kayo ay, if you take back your word or if you correct yourself, then we would be happy to receive it. Kasi if you leave it on record in a Senate hearing, kaming dalawa dito, we could be blamed in the future. So the process of the concurrence in the ratification of a visiting forces agreement must be understood and followed by all. Because if something happens with the environment in the future or with in relation to our maritime laws, Senator Tulfo as chair and I will be blamed. Hindi kasi nila pinakinggan ng DNR eh. But they must understand that we are already in the period of concurrence. And therefore, we either just junk it and not sponsor it on the floor. It would be dependent on the chair. But there is no revision. This is not a bill or a resolution for enactment where we can amend.
Actually, we are aligned on, we were aligned before his appointment on a lot of initiatives, not only the Maritime Zones Law. And actually, Your Honor, because it's hold the Philippine Maritime Zones Law as part of the mandate because it forms part of the whole package of unclosed entitlements. And it is an obligation actually to define our maritime zones under UNCLOS, which was a law passed by Congress, and there was some opposition to it because other parties felt academically that we were giving too much. However, we want to comply strictly with UNCLOS, and so the Maritime Zones Law was passed. And we don't have any problem with it. It is only a question of domain awareness and enforcement. And probably with the Maritime Zones Law, Your Honor, I think if I may venture to invite the chair to get the opinion of the Philippine Coast Guard, which is the primary agency responsible for the enforcement of the Maritime Zones Act.
Mr. Secretary, have you informed or probably the Presidential Commission visiting forces about our maritime zones? Were they informed of Canada and New Zealand about our laws? Kasi parang it's really a big deal for DNR. Pero this is not tama po. This is not the right place anymore to contest or react.
Actually, Your Honor, it is just a reminder of the DNR for any lapse in conforming. The blame should rest squarely on the shoulders of the DND.
Treaties na ito.
this was signed in April and November.
2020 previous year.
So the New Zealand one was April, Your Honor.
April 2025.
Yes, and this refers to the New Zealand
Yes.
agreement.
So that's why in every
So
treaty or executive agreement, we need to see the timeline. So insofar as a New Zealand is concerned, it's April 2025.
which we signed it.
Already.
Yes, here in Manila,
I
Your
see.
Honor.
The comment of a government agency, in this case DNR, was in September.
Because,
What do you
Your
think
Honor,
it's late?
no, Your Honor, because as I said, the repetitious process that
Because
we,
you asked for concurrence again. I
yes, Your
see.
Honor.
Sen Lauren, I think may problema ho tayo. Ang DNR nagka-problema because in this letter dated September 16, 2025 to Secretary Teodoro by Rafael Lutilla, the former secretary. It says here, dear Secretary Teodoro, this refers to your letter dated 4 July 2020 requesting the concurrence of this department of the ratification of the Philippine-New Zealand Status Visiting Forces Agreement. Please be informed that the Department of Environment and Natural Resources concurs with the ratification of the subject agreement, considering prior cabinet approval. So, ibig sabihin, nag-concur na po kayo eh. So, hindi ko alam kung mag-usap-usap na ho kayo. Sa bagay, Secretary, papalit-palit sila ay Senator, no, mga Secretary dyan. Hindi na malaman kung sino. Yung isa, yung babae, sinibak, yung lalaki, hindi rin nag-perform na maayos. Ang dami pa natin problema, itong Sierra Madre, dapat atupagin pa pala natin yan. Isa pa yan, yung bagong secretary niyo pakisabi, atupagin yung problema natin Sierra Madre.
Yes, thank you for that, Chair. So kung nag-concur na sa sulat nga, yung September 16 letter, why does a representative of a DNR asking for a revision of a provision of the Visiting Forces Agreement? Please answer. We will give you the time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Madam Senator, Honorable Secretary. We submit. We are only reiterating our previous position that I agree with the Secretary that it is more of an advice to another cabinet official that they consider in the implementation of the SVFMA the application of the environmental protection provisions of the Philippine Maritime Zones Act, because that's the only act that as of now emphasizes environmental protection with regard to activities within the maritime zones, not just the territorial waters. So that's why we wrote that in our concurrence. It was not a qualification of the concurrence, but a sort of advice from a co-equal department.
Good. It's good that you bring it to the attention. It's good that you wrote. We are just concerned over the language that you used, that may we request that this provision be changed. If that is the request of the DNR, even if you are correct, and we agree actually with your point, we cannot revise a provision. So are you willing to take it back? Because we are not able to revise a provision because we're in the period of concurrence.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Senator. I admit that was ill-advised on my part. That is a manifestation of my my lack of experience with regard to Senate hearings. I am unlike all the other resource persons, under secretaries and assistant secretaries. I was just in my language a while ago, attempting to reinforce the language that Secretary Lutilla previously made to to another member of the cabinet. So I'm withdrawing the language that I used, but I am still emphasizing the position of the DNR that in the implementation of the activities under the SOVFMA, the provision of environmental protection under the Maritime Zones Act be specifically considered.
So, Chair, thank you for that, Attorney Pahe. We fully agree with the Lutilla letter of September 2025. And we fully agree, I agree with what you stated, And that is already contained in the agreement because, as we mentioned, any treaty or agreement must not contradict or contravene the Constitution and any existing laws. So we appreciate you're bringing it to our attention, and lalo na bigyan ng diin ang importansya ng kalikasan at ng ating teritoryo at maritime zone. I was simply concerned about the proposal of the DNR to revise a provision, and thank you for withdrawing that, because we may be blamed in the future that we did not revise it without people, not in the future, next generations, when they read the transcripts, that why didn't they revise it? Pwede naman pala, hindi pwede kasi. But thank you for bringing it to our attention. We do not mean to pin you down. We just needed to clarify the process, which is a lesson learned for all government agencies, to give it at the proper time. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Lauren. Well, with the indulgence of the lady senator, we now therefore conclude our discussions on the status of visiting forces agreement, unless if the gentle lady has further questions.
Just have a note, and since it's mostly the DND that will negotiate it, Mr. Chair, because the provision of this agreement had, number 2, had the provision on dumping of waste, another matter. They commit themselves to prevent the dumping of waste and other matters to create hazards to human health. I believe that this was not present in other previous agreements, especially in 1999. If this was only included in the VFA, unless I miss it, no? Unless if there was a provision, let's say in 1999, that Subic and Clark, after the basing agreement, we assure you that we will have a full cleanup, etc., then I would have voted. So maybe moving forward, this agreement on indigenous people and the prevention of dumping of waste should be negotiated all the time and should be part of any future agreements. Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. And may I underscore too that part of the arbitral award is the finding that China, by its reclamations, violated an international agreement on the protection of the maritime environment and corals. So we are bound to uphold that. Secondly, there is no waiver for environmental damage in case of dumping of waste in these PFAs. Notwithstanding that, Your Honor, even in the previous VFAs and previous treaties, actually, Philippine law on the protection of the environment is automatically read into those treaties. And it is an international engagement initiative. So if we go to court, so to speak, we have to go to court with clean hands. And we cannot be the violators of what we allege others to be violating.
So, Secretary, are you saying that it is understood among parties between the Philippines and particularly the New Zealand? Kasi doon po sa Article 16, Paragraph 2 of the SOVFA with New Zealand, kalagay po yata doon na walang pananagutan ng New Zealand sa environmental damage kung hindi sila fully informed ng Philippines environmental laws. Wala po ba ang probisyong ito sa SOVFA ng Canada, pero nasa SOVFA naman ng Australia?
Ilalagay po natin sa lahat ng IRR. Kasi
okay, we'll adjust it. We'll put it in the IRR.
Sa IRR po natin ilalagay para dun po mas detalyado lahat ng aming mga constraints. Because it is, hindi po constraint, lahat ng obligasyon na kailangan ipatupad ng national government, particularly DND and AFP, ilalagay po namin sa IRR.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Well, with that, we now conclude the discussion on the status of visiting force agreement with Canada and New Zealand, and expect by next week, with the support of Senator Lauren, we'll send this to the floor for approval. We would like to thank Secretary Gibo Teodoro, General Bronner for providing clarifications to our guests, Yusek Habulan. I understand that you guys have important matters to deal with, so you may be excused, and all those who are here regarding this visiting force agreement, you may now be excused. Thank you for joining us this morning. We now go to the ASEAN Treaty on Extradition, COMSEC. Persons for the ASEAN Treaty to please come forward near so we can see your name and we can identify you. Committee Secretary, go ahead. Who is our first resource person for these topic?
Yes, Your Honor, unless the DFA has something else to state, we also have the Department of Justice, Your Honor, to give their statement.
All right. DFA, do you have any further statement regarding this matter?
Nothing further, Your Honor, Mr. Chair.
Then we move to USEC Nicholas T of the Department of Justice. USEC T, go ahead, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. First of all, we thank this committee for inviting the Department of Justice to discuss this very important matter. For the ASEAN Extradition Treaty, the Department of Justice strongly endorses the concurrence of the Senate of this treaty. The Department of Justice, through the Office of the Chief State Counsel, had extensive participation in the negotiations for this treaty, and in fact, we submitted our written endorsement for the concurrence. For that, may I turn over the floor to our Chief State Counsel, who headed our delegation for the Department of Justice's statement.
With the permission of the Honorable Chair.
Go ahead, Attorney Chan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Good morning to the members of the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations, headed by Honorable Senator Erwin Tulfo, and to Senator Lauren Lagarda. The Department of Justice conveys its deep appreciation to the committee for its timely consideration of the concurrence on the ASEAN Treaty on Extradition, or the ATE. We recall with honor the signing of the ATE in Manila, Philippines on the 14th of November 2025 during the Philippine chairship of the ASEAN Law Ministers meeting, which was chaired by Acting Secretary of Justice Frederick A. Vida, who was likewise confirmed by the President the special authority to sign the ATE on behalf of the Philippines. With the Senate's concurrence at the earliest opportunity, the Philippines will be the first ASEAN member state to ratify the treaty, a true trailblazer in the region. This is an achievement befitting our nation, not only as host of the signing, chair of the ASEAN Law Ministers meeting, and holder of the ASEAN chairship, but above all, as a steadfast champion of justice and the rule of law within the region. The ATE is an affirmation of the Philippines' enduring commitment to cooperation, justice, and the rule of law in ASEAN. Together with the ASEAN Mutual Legal Assistance Treaty in Criminal Matters, or MLAT, the effectivity of the ATE will serve to strengthen the region's collective resolve against criminality and desire to uphold the rule of law. The implementation of these historic multilateral treaties among ASEAN member states marks a significant step toward deeper ASEAN integration through seamless legal cooperation in criminal matters. At present, the Philippines maintains bilateral extradition treaties with only two ASEAN member states, Indonesia and Thailand. The ATE will upgrade these arrangements by moving from a list-based to a conduct-based approach, while extending extradition cooperation to the remaining ASEAN member states. Currently, the Philippines has extradition treaties in force with 13 states or jurisdictions. Once the ATE comes into force, the Philippines will be able to extradite and request extradition from 8 additional jurisdictions for a total of 21. The provisions of the ATE are consistent with Presidential Decree number 1069 or the Philippine Extradition Law and aligned with our modern bilateral extradition treaties. Once in force, the ATE will enable each ASEAN member state to request the extradition of individuals located in another member state for prosecution, sentencing, or enforcement of an imposed sentence. Given ASEAN's increasingly mobile population and porous borders, the ATE will meaningfully extend the reach of our justice systems across the region and reinforce ASEAN's shared commitment to ensuring no safe haven for criminals. This treaty will strengthen and modernize legal cooperation among ASEAN member states. With the Senate's timely concurrence on this landmark agreement, the Philippines will be uniquely positioned as a steadfast champion of legal cooperation, justice, and the rule of law within ASEAN. I would be happy to answer any questions the committee may have. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Attorney Chan. Yes, we have a lot of questions here. Ano-ano na po mga bansa ang nag-concur dito sa ratification ng ASEAN Extradition Treaty? I know we have 2 countries already. We have treaty, Indonesia and Thailand. Pero other countries, nagpahayag na ba sila na interested po silang sumama rito at ma-ratify itong ASEAN Extradition Treaty? Attorney?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. All ASEAN member states have signified their intention to ratify the ASEAN Extradition Treaty as evidenced by their signing of said agreement last November here in Manila. But if the Philippines, so far no member state has yet ratified it based on their internal processes. And we are hoping that the Philippines could be the first to ratify this milestone agreement as a highlight or as an accomplishment during the ASEAN chairship by the Philippines. Your
So you're saying, Attorney Chan, they just signify pa lang their intention to ratify itong ASEAN Extradition Treaty. And what are the basis na they're interested in this treaty that we have, Attorney?
Mr. Chair, apologies. The all member states will undergo their own respective ratification process of the treaty. So this ASEAN Extradition Treaty will be ratified by the respective ASEAN member states, Mr. Chair.
Right? Kasi baka naman tayo lang meron ganito pero sila na wala pa, then hindi rin effective ito. And we really need this because kagaya po na nangyari sa isa pong mambabatas dun sa isang member state po ngayon, hindi po mai-surrender. Yun ang naging problema. Ngayon, ang tanong ko po dito, can you identify po yung mga tao na pwedeng i-extradite? Paki-explain po yung paano gagawin natin na request for extradition at anong agencies ang involved. Paano kung wala po siyang kaso sa bansa na yon? Pero dito sa atin meron. Can we request na pwede nyo bang i-extradite? May mga issues tayong ganun ngayon. Nasa Europe ngayon, paano ito? How do we do this? Gagalangin kaya, sasabihin, wala naman siyang kaso dito sa amin. At meron siyang a permanent resident na siya dito ngayon dahil may mga visa siya or whatever, may mga investment siya. Tapos tayo lang ang may kaso sa kanya. How do we go about this?
Mr. Chair, I would like to provide initial context that the answers I will be given is purely within the ambit of the ASEAN Treaty on extradition.
Go ahead.
So, Your Honor, the purposes of extradition are to initiate prosecution over an individual or for said individual to serve his sentence in the requested state. So, to answer your first question, Your Honor, even if the subject extraditee is for purposes of this discussion in Singapore is not facing any criminal case there, it will not be a ground or a deterrent to refuse extradition just because said individual is not facing a criminal charge in Singapore. What is important, Your Honor, is that there is that element of dual criminality wherein the conduct or the act on which the request for extradition forms the basis of is similarly penalized in the other ASEAN member state in question.
Can you explain this under Article 2 na maaari lamang ma-extradite ay yung mga individual na may natitira pang hindi bababa sa 6 na buwang sentensyang dapat i-serve? Are we talking here o yung kaso niya dito sa atin, pag dumaan na po at nasintensyahan na? Are we talking about case filed here in our courts by that individual na nasa overseas? Attorney Chan.
Mr. Chair, the premise under Article 2, Paragraph 1, is that where the request for extradition is for purposes of serving a sentence, then the period of service should at least be 6 months, Your Honor.
So I say, hindi po tayo makapag-request ng extradition kung hindi pa natin nasampahan ng kaso. Is that hindi pa tapos yung kaso. Kailangan ma-convict na muna siya dito sa atin. Ito pong tao, individual na ito, must be convicted in the Philippine courts before we can request for extradition. Is that what it is?
Sorry, Your Honor. The minimum period of 6 months is only becomes applicable if the purpose or if the objective of the extradition request is for an individual to serve his sentence in the Philippines. So, as I mentioned earlier, Mr. Chair, the purposes or objectives of extradition is to either prosecute an individual or to have said individual serve his sentence. There is that possibility, Mr. Chair, that a criminal proceedings have already been initiated here in the Philippines. Then the subject jumps bail or moves to another jurisdiction, but trial against said individual still proceeds and a judgment of conviction is issued by the court against said individual. So in that situation where there is a final judgment of conviction, if the sentence to be served is at least 6 months, then the Philippine government could still seek the extradition of that individual wherever he may be found in the ASEAN region, Mr. Chair.
Then, does this provision risk creating a safe harbor for criminals with short remaining terms?
Your Honor,
Okay, Attorney Chan, let me redirect my question now. Dito po sa DFA na lang po natin kay Assistant Secretary Mandap. Sir, ito pong provision na ito po ba ay magre-risk na will create a safe harbor for criminals with short remaining terms?
Salamat po, Mr. Chair. In a sense, it will, but that is already the situation. Ganun na po kasi, and even with this treaty, hindi po magbabago yan. Talagang safe pa rin yung mababa ng sentensya ng mababa na sa 6 na buwan. Ang pakay po kasi nito, the main objective, as I understand it, is to go after the big criminals with, substantial sentences. So ito po, may practical reason po kung bakit hindi na natin nahabulin yung mabababa ang sentensya kasi there is a process. Sometimes it takes months, sometimes it takes years. Kung matatapos na rin lang ang sentensya, baka pagkatapos pumayag yung requested state ay tapos na yung sentensya, wala na pong isa-serve na sentence. So may practical reason po kung bakit hindi na kino-cover yung mga mabababa na ang sentensya. Kasi may administrative cost din po yun at a long process of negotiation is expected every time a request of this nature is conveyed.
Anong agency po ang mag-spearhead nito or central authority sa pagpaproseso ng request ng extradition? Is it the DFA? Is it the DOJ? Is it the DILG? Is it the PNP? Is it the Philippine Center on Transnational Crime? Sino po ang mag-lead dito?
Ang central authority po natin dito ay ang DOJ. And
So it's the DOJ.
Opo, they can confirm that.
Okay.
Your
DOJ?
Your Honor, under our current extradition process, all requests for extradition will be submitted to the Department of Foreign Affairs first for their initial evaluation, whether it confirms or conforms to the applicable extradition treaty. Once the DFA has evaluated the request, they then transmit it to the Department of Justice for a second round of evaluation. And if the DOJ finds everything to be sufficient in form and substance, then the actual petition for extradition is filed in the trial court here in the Philippines, Mr. Chair.
Okay, isa pang problem dito, Attorney Chan and USEC or ASEC Mandap. Paano kung individual ay nag-file po ng asylum? Nag-file ng political asylum and being persecuted by that government, the Philippine government, and then that member state refuses to honor yung request ng extradition kasi nga nakapag-file na po siya ng asylum sa bansa na yon and on process na. How are we going to handle this? Or you may help, Attorney Mandap.
Well, ang DOJ po kasi ang
All right.
mari-resource natin dito.
We'll wait for the DOJ. Paano po yan? Sasabihin ng host country, ay hindi, nag-file na po ito ng political asylum dahil meron po siyang political persecution dyan sa inyong bansa. Hindi po namin siya may turn over. Nag-file na po siya ng asylum in our country. Bagamat meron po kayong kaso dyan, pero we really strongly believe na itong tao na ito ay politika. Ang dahilan kung bakit niyo dyan pauwiin siya at kinasuhan na lang siya na kung ano-ano. How do we answer this and what do we do?
Your Honor, under asylum mechanism, the concerned country would have to first evaluate the claim of persecution.
Hindi nga sir, what I'm saying, nauna ho siya nag-file, tumakas ho siya sa atin. Marami hong issues ngayon, maraming taong na hinahabol ngayon na hindi natin matagpuan dahil wala tayong treaty, extradition. Yung isa pa dyan, nag-file ng political asylum. Paano ho yun? Nauna siya nag-file and on process na yung kanyang asylum request. Kinasuhan po natin, medyo mabagal po ating justice system. Taon ang inabot. Paano po ito? Sasabihin ngayon ng host country o yung signatory dito, sorry Philippines pero nag-file na siya ng asylum dito sa amin ano hong gagawin natin? How are we going to deal with this?
Your Honor, just to clarify, by the mere instance of filing an asylum application, it does not mean that the person is already exempt from extradition. Under Article 7 of the treaty, Your Honor, while it is considered a mandatory ground for refusal, if a person claims persecution, it will still have to be evaluated by the requested state. So in that regard, Mr. Chair, it is incumbent now upon the Philippines Central Authority to present the case clearly that there is also no political persecution involved in trying to extradite said individual to the Philippines.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Attorney Chan. May I also bring to our attention Article 5, the mandatory grounds of refusal. Number 1 and letter A. Extradition shall not be granted under this treaty where the requested party determines that the offense for which the extradition is requested is an offense of a political nature. So this is aligned with what Attorney Chan said, that the requested party, whichever country is that, pag na-determine na political lang, ay maari niyang i-refuse yung request for extradition ng Pilipinas. Tama ba ho yun, Attorney Chan? Is my interpretation of Article 5, number 1, letter A, that says that extradition may not be pursued as a course of action by the requested country party if it so determines that the cause is political in nature. That is what I understand clearly from Article 5, Section 1, letter A. Thank you.
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Sen. Lauren, for that.
May tanong po ako, Mr. Chair. Kanina po, binanggit ni Attorney Chan na wala pang ASEAN country ang nag-ratify nito. Wala pa, no? Pero meron tayong dalawa na may bilateral because this is a multilateral instrument and we have bilateral extradition treaties with, tagal na, isa 1976, isa 1981, Thailand and Indonesia. But they are obviously part of the ASEAN, so is it still necessary? It will be duplicate therefore. So my question is, with the two, we don't have bilateral extradition with the others. Should we still pursue extradition bilaterally with the others or just pass a multilateral instrument such as this so that it covers all countries, and in this case will duplicate the already existing bilateral extradition treaties with Indonesia and Thailand? I want to understand. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, the entering into this multilateral extradition treaty will be of practical benefit to the Philippines because we are able to cover all ASEAN member states within the region, while having separate bilateral agreements would be ideal because you really make it fit into the respective legal regime of the Philippines and its treaty partner. But Your Honor, for practicality's sake, having to negotiate with the 8 remaining AMS will be timely and may not serve the purpose that we want to right now, which is to have this treaty ratified and make it applicable throughout the ASEAN region so that it will not become a safe haven for criminals, not just from the Philippines, but also from other AMS.
Mr. Chair, there must be a reason why not a single ASEAN nation has ratified it. But we want us to be the first because we're chair of ASEAN. But may dahilan siguro. Bakit ayaw nung iba?
Your Honor, it's not that they don't want. It's just that from a timing perspective, Madam Chair and Mr. Chair, this agreement was signed only in November of 2025. And it has just been a few months since its signing. So we wanted to take this opportunity of the Philippines being the first AMS to ratify the extradition treaty as a momentous achievement during its chairship. But this does not mean, Mr. Chair, that they do not want to ratify.
Just to be clear, all ASEAN nations signed it. Yes.
Yes,
Now
Madam
we
Chair.
need to go through the process of ratification in the executive departments of each country, right? Because is this country considered an executive agreement or a treaty? It's a treaty.
It is a treaty,
Okay.
Mr. Chair, because
So,
it will be ratified by the
treaty. So all of them signed November lang pala, and then now they're doing, like us, the internal discussions. And is there still a process of revisions? Gaya yung nangyari kanina sa DNR, meron pa. Or dahil napirmahan na, pero hindi pa naman ratified, right? It's not yet ratified. The signature, the signing of the multilateral instrument is not yet considered a ratification. Would you consider that a ratification already? Not yet. Hindi pa.
No.
Signing pa lang.
signing.
Tapos, nag-hearing na tayo, proactive si chair, nagko-consultation kayo, ira-ratify pa. So, ibig sabihin, pwede pang maamendahan.
Not anymore, Mr. Chair. Similar to the SOFA agreements earlier.
Siya. So, na-sign na siya ng lahat ng ASEAN at na-ratify na rin ni Presidente. Ratified na ng Pilipinas. At tayo pa lang ang nag-ratify sa lahat ng ASEAN. Are we the first to ratify it?
Looks like it.
Because the fact that it's in the Senate nga, it's for concurrence already. Oh, so are we the first country to ratify it and the only country to ratify it?
Yeah, my next
Tayo-
question also,
tayo
Sen.
pala.
Lauren, with your indulgence, probably with the help of the DFA, niratify yun na, di ba, ng ibang countries na hindi pa? Na effective na ba? Kung hindi pa nag-ratify sila,
That
effective
is
ba yun?
also Mr. Chair, Madam Senator, that is also the information that we have. We so far tayo pa lang po yung nag-ratify, and for the reasons already stated by the Chief State Council, kasi po siguro dahil mahalaga ito sa atin ngayon, no? Dahil sa sitwasyon natin, may mga high profile suspects tayong hinahabol, at isa pang dahilan na binanggit yung dahil chairship natin, magandang tayo yung magpakita ng inisyatibo.
Our mere ratification, it's been ratified, our concurrence will not hold effect unless how many? 6 out of the 8. No, how
6.
many? 6. Oh, no, not all. It will take effect
6.
if 6 out of the 8 will concur in the ratification.
Yes, ma'am.
So my question is, among the 8, do they all consider this a treaty or the others consider it an executive agreement? Lahat treaty. At lahat magko-concur. Ang proseso ba ng lahat ng ASEAN nations, gaya ng Pilipinas, dahil yung iba, like Laos, Cambodia, iba naman ang kanilang
Opo. Maybe the
proseso.
DOJ has this information, but we do acknowledge that there are differences in the processes that we follow.
Proseso.
Opo, tayo strictly, kapag ganitong nature ng agreement, we have to submit it to Senate conference.
ang nag-ratify.
Opo, sa ngayon po.
Pa. Yung pagpirma nung Nobyembre, anong tawag? Signing lang yon.
Signing po.
Ratification na yon.
Presidential ratification.
8 ASEAN nations, correct? Tama ba bilang ko? 8. Ha?
11 po. 11 na po tayo.
6. Kasi Thailand, Indonesia, hindi na kailangan. So 11, teka. 6 out of 11. Teka, I'm confused. So 11. 11. Teka, sino yung pumirma nung Nobyembre? All? Lahat. 11. 11 ba? Okay. Kasama Timor-Leste. 11 pumirma. Yung pirmang yon, ratification ba? Hindi. Signing lang. Ng parang willingness. Sa 11 na yon, ilan ang nag-ratify na? Wala pa. Tayo lang. Ayun. Pero, sa dalawang bansa nga, meron na tayong extradition. So, i-minus mo yung 11, 9. Bakit ko sinabing 6 kanina? Pero kailangan ng, ilan kailangan maging effective ito? 6?
6 po.
6. Okay. So, pag ratify ng 6 out of 11 at ma-concur in their respective processes, it will take effect. Maski, let's say, ayaw ng Myanmar, ayaw ng Laos. Say mo, kunyari lang, ganun. Diba? Kasi maaring may ibang bansa ayaw nila eh. No?
Yan na nga yung tanong ko kanina, San Lawrence, sa DOJ. Paano nga, okay tayo, na nag-approve nito, nag-ratify nito. Paano po yung mga countries na medyo nagdadalawang isip pa? Is this applicable, itong extradition ito? Definitely not, di po ba? Medyo tayo lang po yung excited dahil tayo po ang chairman. Pero let's also have to consider, baka mapahiya ho tayo, sabihin lang. We show we signify our ratification, pero hindi pa po kami talaga nag-ratify sa bansa na ito. Paano maging effective ito? Then it will be useless. Attorney Mandap.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I think there is reasonable ground to believe that most, if not all, of the ASEAN member states will sooner or later ratify it. In fact, the information we have is that Malaysia, Thailand, and Indonesia are currently undergoing internal processes for their ratification. So there is may impetus po kasi there is apparently consensus among the ASEAN member states that we need this kind of treaty.
Yung dalawang meron tayong, Mr. Chair, bilateral treaty, Thailand and Indonesia, counted na yon or boboto sila ulit? Kailangan proseso. So, hindi naman parang common sense, they have to agree because meron tayong bilateral sa kanila. Or baka naman iba yung treaty, yung trato nila sa iba. Baka ayaw nila ng full ASEAN, Pilipinas lang sila. At baka yung leadership ngayon, hindi kamukha nung 1976 at nung 81. Anyway, haka-haka ko lang naman yun. So, kailangan, assuming yung sinabi nyo, 4 na yan, 2 pang bansa na sasang-ayon sa multilateral treaty na ito.
Gusto lang po naming linawin that the operative fact is not just the signing by the states, but also the matter of depositing the instrument of ratification, acceptance, or approval with the depository, which is the ASEAN Secretariat.
The signing was November. Okay.
Opo.
And then depositing the instrument of ratification, naganap na po, no?
Kasi hindi pa po pinal. Kailangan talagang makomplete yung ating domestic processes,
Teka.
which includes
Nag-ratify na tayo ng
ang
President.
President po, executive
Hindi pa tayo
ratification.
nagko-concur.
Opo.
Yung instrument of ratification is pag nakompleto na lahat.
Opo.
So each country, we need 6, has to deposit the instrument of ratification with the ASEAN Secretary General.
That's correct.
Okay, clear.
All right.
It's beyond our term.
I know.
Depends on the political will of the other countries.
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard kasi hindi naman po bilateral ito. Yung, kailangan natin ng concurrence ng, 5 more states?
6 total.
Six.
So,
Yeah, kasama tayo doon. 6.
binanggit nila, 6. Binanggit nila yung willing, no, na 3 bansa, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand. Kung
Pang-apat
4
tayo.
lang, tas 5 tayo, no, 3 sila, 4 tayo, 4 na tayo. So,
Dalawa
yung
pa.
2, sino pang 2 ang nakikita nyong magiging willing?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
we understand that how it looks, it may take some time before the extradition treaty becomes effective region-wide. This was also the experience that the DOJ went through with respect to the Mutual Legal Assistance Treaty. It also took some time before all member states ratified. But based on our negotiations with our counterparts, we see Timor-Leste to also be among the states that will agree. At the same time, Mr. Chair, we take comfort in the fact that the ASEAN Extradition Treaty was signed by all ministers of justice or the secretaries of justice in their jurisdiction, which to us is a reasonable expectation that they will also be undergoing ratification proceedings in accordance with their domestic laws. We just were seeing it as a momentous accomplishment or momentous occasion if the Philippines will be the first to submit its instrument of ratification with the ASEAN Secretary General.
So you're suggesting whether or not that the other ASEAN nations that haven't ratified it yet, we go ahead and ratify it? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Itong extradition treaty na ito?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
For what purpose? If yung other countries naman haven't ratified this and then we ratified it, what do we get out of this? Because we're the chair? Is that the only reason? We want to show to the Association of Southeast Asian Nations we're the first one to do it under our chairship. Yun lang po ba yun? What do we benefit? I mean, sir, approving treaties, there should be we get something out of it. If we're not getting something out of this, dahil the only way para maganda tingnan, dahil chairman tayo, may mga na-accomplish tayo, I agree with you, that's good. Pero asking you directly, what do we benefit out of this? We approve it, we ratified it, the Senate, concur, etc. But then other countries remain like we were looking for 3, 4 more countries to ratify it aside, So what do we benefit out of this?
Mr. Chair, we acknowledge the seemingly
well, before you answer that, don't get me wrong. I am too. I am very willing and interested. I support this because we're having problems right now. We're trying to catch people, chase people all over the world where we don't have extradition treaties. Pinagtatawanan tayo ng mga tao. Akala siguro na wala tayong ginagawa. Yeah, we really need this. Kung pwede, lahat ng bansa dapat may treaty tayo from not only in ASEAN but also European Union. Pero yun nga po yung tanong natin, di ba? So aprobahan lang natin, basta maaprobahan natin dahil chairman po tayo, is that it? It's okay kahit na iba hindi pa. So it will just sit on the table of the Secretary General of the ASEAN while waiting for other countries to sign it. What if it's not their priority? Attorney Chan.
To a certain extent, Mr. Chair, we cannot control nor dictate among our on the other ASEAN member states on how to proceed with the ratification. But with the Philippines being the first, it sends a strong message also to our other neighbors that the Philippines is serious in its efforts to curtail and to run after criminals. And usually, Mr. Chair, when there is an ASEAN meeting or conference, that is an occasion that we can use to convince our counterparts to hasten the process of ratification in their own respective jurisdiction, Mr. Chair. And just to add, Mr. Chair, while yes, we still do not have a lot of extradition agreements with other countries, the DOJ, through the help of the DFA, is currently in negotiations with 2 countries of the European Union for an extradition agreement also, Mr. Chair.
Attorney.
Poland and Italy, Mr. Chair.
Poland.
None yet. It's still
how many countries now na meron po tayong extradition treaty dyan po sa Europe? Hindi po ba kasama dyan ang Spain, Portugal, o Czechoslovakia? Wala ba?
Only 3 countries in EU, Mr. Chair. The United Kingdom, Spain, and Switzerland.
Switzerland. So pag pumunta yung tao na hinahanap natin sa Czechoslovakia, wala na. Pag pumunta sa Portugal doon na malagi nagsha-shopping doon, wala na. Hindi na natin. Tinatanong ko lang. I'm just merely asking. Oh no. O sige, sa Paris, sa France. O anong bansa? Anong bansa pipiliin ko? Malta. Wala ba? Kasi sabi may mga apartment pa, mga ganun-ganun kwento. What's happening?
Mr. Chair, we also have a scheduled negotiation with France for extradition, which was already agreed upon even prior to the latest news involving extradition of a certain individual.
Bakit sa France lang? Bakit pa hindi pwedeng sa Portugal o sa Czechoslovakia o sa Germany? Anyway, Attorney Chan, I mean, kidding aside, of course, my colleagues, gustuhin ko man po, ma-ratify kaagad natin ito, ipasa natin doon sa Senado. The problem is my colleagues will ask me definitely on the floor, what do we get out of this, Mr. Chairman, di ba? The same question that I was asking you. Para gusto ko lang na maganda tignan dahil chairman tayo na aprubahan kaagad natin. And then they will definitely say, marami po madudunong dyan, kasama po itong katabi ko. Sasabihin, ganun ba? Aprubahan natin dahil chairman tayo. Maganda ho tignan sa papel, but then they will definitely ask me, what do we benefit out of this? I mean, ratify this, extradition, pero wala pa rin, hindi rin pala natin magagamit. But definitely, I support you. I 100% na we really need the extradition treaty. At kung maaari lang, hindi lang po dito sa ASEAN members po, dapat buo halos lahat ng bansa, especially sa Europe. Diyan pumupunta po yung mga tao, diyan po nagtatago yung mga tao na hinahanap po natin. Yan po siguro kailangan natin na magkaroon tayo ng treaty.
Mr. Chair, I support the ASEAN multilateral extradition agreement. And it is significant, yes, because we are chair of ASEAN. And the fact that we will be the first should not be difficult and could even be the impetus to let the others speed up their internal processes. And the fact that we have two countries, Indonesia and Thailand, which had decades ago had engaged in bilateral extradition treaties with us, and the possibility, according to our DFA representative, the three other countries, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, and prospectively Timor-Leste and possibly Singapore. So with 6 that could ratify it, it will go into force, right? So yun na nakikita ko mga bansa, hindi ko kayo inuunahan na parang papayag. Tingin ko, tama ba yun? Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, kasi meron na tayo. Tapos Malaysia, and Singapore, and Timor-Leste. Tapos Pilipinas. I'm not saying that the others are not interested. I'm just thinking aloud.
I think yung Timor-Leste, mako-convince mo yung best friend mo ron. You can probably tell your best friend na Timor-Leste, baka pwede mo kaming tulungan. I mean, your friends. May maraming mga friends din ako doon.
Ang galing ka na ron nung panahon pa ni yung yumaong Secretary Angie Reyes. I've also been to that country and with many friends there. And because it is led by a human rights champion who is their president, I am certain we could. I do not want to interfere. We are lawmakers and we must not interfere in the job of the executive. Pero walang masama naman, no?
Yes.
Na magsabi.
To remind.
So, ang ibig sabihin po ng DOJ at ng DFA, maganda sana kung ma-concur tayo sa ratifikasyon hanggang Nobyembre, di ba?
Right.
Hanggang Nobyembre pa o gusto nyo ngayong buwan na ito? Lalong maganda.
Gusto ko yata nila next week na.
Oo. Although hindi pa, it will not take effect, it will not be enforced because 6 pa. So 5 pa sila, pero magandang hudyat. Kasi, number 1, yung issue ng human trafficking, yung issue ng droga, tapos yung mga dinadala sa Myanmar, no? Sa Laos, no? At saka yung paglipat ng mga pogo mula Pilipinas na sa Laos at Myanmar din. So, ang dami talagang crimes na hirap ang DOJ kasi nga of our borders. So, matutulungan natin ang DOJ sa pag-implement ng mga batas gaya ng yung advocacy ko, anti-trafficking in persons, pag merong extradition treaty. So, but I leave it to the chair. It is his decision, but I would support this.
Hey, let me quickly just ask the PNP, ano hong recorded na mas maraming kaso? Yung human trafficking or yung drugs, or we're concerned? Sa statistics po ninyo, ano mas marami?
Based on the statistics, sir, they are more on drugs.
Drugs pa rin, ang
Yes, sir.
marami.
Yes, sir.
Alright.
Po, yung network ng drugs, yun na rin ang network ng human trafficking eh.
And even transnational crimes.
Alright. Kailangan siguro talaga. Diyan sa may mga ASEAN countries ngayon, doon ang nagre-recruit talaga ng mga kababayan natin. Sen. Lauren. Anyway, kung wala na po kayong katanungan, Sen. Lauren, I would like to... Dami pa. Okay. Well, in the interest of time, I would like to request the agencies to submit their position papers to this committee on foreign relations. Pahingin po kami ng data sa Transnational Crime, PNP, and then the Philippine Center on Transnational Crime. Okay. With that, I would like to thank our resource persons and my fellow senator here, the beautiful lady, Senator Lauren, for today's highly productive discussion. Today, we have laid out the undeniable strategic value of deepening our defense ties with Canada and New Zealand, as well as tightening our regional justice system to the ASEAN Extradition Treaty. But this committee has made abundantly clear the Senate's concur is never a blank check. We will meticulously review the assurances given on the record today, particularly regarding who holds criminal jurisdiction over visiting forces agreement. Pag-usapan natin kanina, how we protect our environment from legal loopholes, and how we guarantee true reciprocal protections for our own Filipino troops deployed abroad. We want these international partnerships to succeed, but they must succeed on terms that fiercely protect Philippine sovereignty, our laws, and our people. The committee will evaluate all the position papers submitted today to determine our next course of action and prepare corresponding committee reports. Maraming salamat, Senator Lauren, for joining us this morning and our resource persons. Since there are no further matters to take up at this time, this hearing is hereby suspended.
Technical working group pa kayo, hindi na? Ano?
Stop taking meeting notes and let ClickUp AI Note Taker do it for you. It allows you to focus on your meetings, not your notes. It captures everything, from action items to key decisions. And after every call, you get a clear summary. But where it really goes to the next level is that it's the only AI note taker that connects your meetings to the rest of your work. So stop stressing about taking notes and get the AI note taker that works for you. Get ClickUp AI Note Taker for your next meeting.
The CIDG will issue a subpoena tomorrow to General De La Rosa to appear personally before the CIDG office here in aid of investigation of the previous crime. I repeat, this is not an arrest warrant but a subpoena for the senator and former chief of police, former chief of the PNP.
Mula sa usap-usapang red notice na uwi sa subpoena, habang tahimik si Senator Bato de la Rosa, ang gobyerno pinaiigting ang pag-usisa sa kampanya kontra droga.
Habang ang PDP laban lantarang nagbabala sa mga mambabatas na boboto pabor sa impeachment ni VP Sara. Sa politika ngayon, hindi lang posisyon ang nanganganib, pati alyansa.
Magandang gabi, ako si George Cahiles.
Ako naman si Ivy Reyes. Napapanood tayo sa Free TV, Channel 31. Simulan na natin ang
Agenda Weekend. Senator Bato de la Rosa hahainang sa pina ng pulisya dahil daw sa papel sa kampanya kontra droga. ICC warrant, pinasinungalingan ng DILG. Isang araw bago posibleng pagbotohan sa kamarang impeachment ni VP Sara, PDP laban, ipapa-blacklist daw ang mga papabor sa pag-usad ng kaso. Exclusive! Marangyang property umano ni Zaldico sa Paris, silipin. OA ang presyo? Estimate ni SILG Remulla sa halaga ng tirahan ni Ko. Exaggerated daw ayon sa isang informant ng Billionaire News Channel. Dalawang Singaporean na sakay sa Ferrari, patay matapos madulas at lumiyabang luxury car sa highway sa Malaysia. At rising Filipina tennis ace Alex Iyala, sasagupain si world number 2 Elena Rybakina ngayong gabi. Ipagpapatuloy na ng PNP ang investigasyon sa kaugnayan umano ni Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa sa extrajudicial killings. Dito, gagamitin ng PNP CIDG ang subpoena powers na naisabatas noong si de la Rosa pa ang hepe ng pambansang pulisya. Narito ang Agenda Weekend Report ni Joan Manalo.
The CIDG will issue a subpoena tomorrow to General de la Rosa to appear personally before the CIDG office here in aid of investigation of the previous crime.
Pinahaharap na si Senator Bato de la Rosa sa PNP-CIDG matapos inanunsyo ni DILG Secretary John Vic Remulla na maglalabas na ng subpoena ang CIDG laban sa senador bukas bilang bahagi ng kanilang investigasyon.
I repeat, this is not an arrest warrant but a subpoena for the senator and former chief of police, former chief of the PNP. I have given orders to General Nakatakdang to resume the investigation regarding his previous actions as city director of Davao and regional director of Davao Region.
Pinabulaanan din ni Remulla ang mga balitang may red notice na mula Interpol sa De La Rosa.
We do not have a red notice for General de la Rosa. The news has been circulating. I have not seen a copy. I have